Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello and welcome. I want to begin with a happy Friday, happy fall, happy green t-shirt day as we think about celebrating awareness and information around, yes, mental health and suicide prevention. It's great to see so many other greeners in this space. We are super excited to have you here today. My name is Tamara Bauer, and I'm an instructor and program director at the Staley School of Leadership, and also one of the chairs of the What Matters to Me and Why committee. We are looking forward to our speaker today, and I want to tell you a little bit about this program and also a little bit about how we've gathered and the purpose for our gathering. Also, a big welcome to everyone who's joining us virtually on Zoom today. So as we begin, I want to share a little bit about the What Matters to Me and Why speaker series. This is a sponsored program by the Staley School of Leadership, and it's supported by a cross-campus planning committee whose names appear here, if my PowerPoint will work for me. There we go. So if you are here in the room and are on this planning committee, would you please stand so that we can recognize you? Thank you. Share a special thank you to Tim DeNoble and Tani Martinez for their work from the beginning of this program. And as they end their service on this committee, we would not be where we are today without your work and your service. Additionally, when we think about why we gather, the What Matters to Me and Why series was designed to build and strengthen bonds between people who teach, learn, and work together daily, and to help foster an understanding how each of us embraces our values and K-State's principles of community. We have many former speakers that are also in this room. This program began in 2017, and if you were a former speaker, will you also please stand so we can see you and celebrate? Thank you. We all have stories to share that reflect our values, our life experiences, lessons learned. Telling our individual and collective stories is a way to share the values that define us. Our stories represent choice points, moments when we faced a challenge, made a decision, experienced an outcome, and learned something. As we tell and listen to each other's stories of what matters most, we build and strengthen our community. So whether you're telling that story from a podium, like our speaker will today, or share it in a quiet moment with a close friend or colleague, we all have the opportunity to speak what matters to us and to be the ones to listen, to really listen what matters to others in pursuit of finding and achieving shared goals. Today, we are fortunate to hear from President Richard Linton and thank him for connecting with us in this way. To introduce him, I'd like to invite our Student Body Vice President, Jeff Ebeck.
So I get the unique honor of introducing our president, President Linton. So basically, I just want to start off with the story of how I met President Linton. So it was a crazy and hectic day. It was the day that he was announced as our next president. So we all were trying to gather in a room, all our SJ leadership, and we saw the amazing energy that he brought to the room with his socks. Actually, he is wearing purple socks again. But then we decided to take it a step further and go to the reception. And we waited in a very, very, very long line to talk to him. And I think the thing that just really jumped out to me was the way he wanted to connect with students. The first thing I remember, this verbatim, he said to us was, how can I connect with as many students as possible? And he wanted to get everybody's email and just kind of like be the first person to extend that hand to students. And actually, SJ leadership gets the unique opportunity of meeting in his home. So that is an incredible experience where he brings us into his life and just really extends that hand, as I was saying. I think the next thing that really jumps out to me is his dedication and commitment to this university already. All of us has heard about the Kansas presidential community visits. I got to see the opportunity of him extending the hand to communities around Kansas. This is his dedication and energy that he has brought since day one with the socks. And it has just been an incredible experience and that energizing feeling that was missing for the last 2 years. Now, with this opportunity, I'd like to introduce President Linton. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? Let's get in the back. She said I was going to speak behind the podium. I haven't done that in 25 years. She asked if I wanted to sit on a stool, and I thought I was in trouble. Really great to be with everybody today. And this is, I think, a really unique way of being able to bring people's personal feelings into your lives. And for me, it was really fun to be able to put this presentation together because there's no words in this presentation. It's just kind of pictures of what is important to me and kind of to give you an understanding of my family, both immediate as growing up and also with my extended family, with my wife and 2 kids. So in the beginning, there was mom and dad. Oh, mom and dad seen here on a merry-go-round about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe. I lost my dad 5 years ago, unfortunately, but kind of happy-go-lucky kinds of folks. My mom and dad grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They actually lived up the street from each other. My dad was 4 years older than my mom. They actually got to know each other when my dad actually built a basketball court for my mom. My mom was a big sports person, big basketball and a field hockey person. My dad's really kind of interesting. He's a huge inspiration to me. He was born a cripple. He grew up the first 5 or 6 years of his life walking in metal braces. He was not very motivated, was not very smart in his words. His grades were horrible. And somehow he ended up becoming one of 22 All-American soccer players in the country and went to the University of Pennsylvania to get his PhD. I'll talk more about him a little bit later, but he is absolutely 90% of me. My mom was an incredible athlete, field hockey, basketball, super hard worker. She was also homecoming queen and did all that kind of stuff. She was always the extroverted one in the family, where my dad was just kind of introverted, hanging out, kind of watching it all happen, where my mom was always kind of the cheerleader when we were all together. Had an incredible childhood. What was important to them was to be able to do as much as they could for their 4 kids. We're going to show you the other 3 kids in just a second. But, my mom would hide money away in a sock so that we could go to camp every summer. And they just put everything they possibly could away for their kids. And I think it was a tremendous value that I learned from them as I took forward to my immediate family. It's tough growing up with 3 older sisters. They look cute in this picture, but I'm going to tell you what, they're not as cute as they look. Yeah, this was a picture we did every year. This was in 1970, so I'd have been 4 years old. And all of us were within 5 years, which was kind of neat. And with my 3 sisters, the older one was absolutely the leader and the mother. The middle one, Kathy, is like the super smart one. She's the engineer. She's the one that always got the best grades and was treated better than any of us. That was kidding. And then Jennifer, the one that was closest to me, just a year and a half away, was the out of control one. She was the fun one. And so I'll get to picture them a little bit later and talk about them a little bit later in life. But this 5-year split was really great in growing up. You got to know them really well. I will tell you, up until age 18, it was really difficult. I was picked on. That's where I developed resilience and really good negotiation skills. But, it's funny, we got together with my parents years ago, and I had 2 weeks of TV taken away from me because of a vase that was broken. And I missed the Super Bowl. That was the Dallas Cowboys against the Denver Broncos way, way back in the 70s. I remember missing it and having to listen to it on a transistor radio. And they finally admitted that I didn't do it. They did it. They all came up with a story. I said, take TV away from them. Anyway, it was kind of a unique part of an experience. I don't think a lot of people grow up as the youngest with all their siblings within 5 years. So this is fast forward a number of years. This is probably maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. My oldest sister, who's shown the third one in there, she was a head OR nurse. She went to the University of Miami and just was very much into medicine. Her husband was the CFO of Bacardi Rum, and they ended up doing an 11-year stint in Bermuda, which really was a cool experience. They went to Bermuda. Actually, Bacardi Rum did all of their financial transactions because of the tax savings. And so it was just a really interesting part of her personal growth in her life, and had a chance to be able to connect with them. And we still get the rum for free, so it's kind of nice. I had mentioned the smartest sister is the one in the middle, the tallest one. She was the athlete. She was an All-American field hockey player and got a scholarship to play field hockey at Virginia Tech. She works for Duke Energy, and she worked for about 20 years for the Smithsonian Institute. And she worked on the most important exhibits for the HVAC systems. And so like when King Tut came out many, many years ago, I was the first one to see King Tut with a security guard and my sister as they were getting the temperature and humidity control and all of those kinds of things. She's probably the sister that's closest to me. She calls me probably 2 or 3 times a week, and we're just really strongly connected. The crazy sister, and the dress kind of fits her, kind of wild out there. I'll just say that she's crazy. She's a lot of fun. So this is my dad, my greatest influence. He showed on the left, he was a scientist for DuPont for 40 years. And what he did is he developed colors. He's got some 2,000 color patents that he developed for cars. If you see a car and it's white and has a pearl essence look to it, it's my dad's. And he actually determined this color scheme that he was looking for. He was walking on the beach and he picked up a shell. And he picked up this shell and he moved it. And he saw the pearl essence and the change in the colors due to the different refraction of light through the different layers of the shell. So he artificially created that with titanium dioxide. He was everything I'm not, and vice versa. He was a phenomenal lab chemist and amazingly creative. If he was here at Kansas State, he'd bring $100 million in to be able to support his lab. But if you put him in front of a group like this, he'd be vomiting right before, he'd be vomiting right afterwards, and he'd be just a nervous fit. In fact, what he'd be doing is he'd be doing this. I was the opposite. I got along okay in the lab, only because I worked hard, but I didn't have the natural gift of creation. My gift was much better in front of people. And so it was really kind of fun for us to make fun on both. And he was just a great dad. As you can see on the right, huge sports fan. This was a World Series game that I used to work for PepsiCo. I was their lead international food safety consultant for about 15 years. And I was at a meeting in Las Vegas with them. And they said, do you want to go to the World Series tonight? I said, well, yeah, because the Phillies are playing. The Phillies were playing Tampa Bay, and it's Tropicana Field. Tropicana is owned by PepsiCo. And so all of a sudden, a jet is taking me to go to Tropicana Field. And on the way, we pick up my dad. And it was like, amazing. So my grandparents were also important. We grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, which is the headquarters of DuPont. And Philadelphia, again, they lived right up and down the street from each other. We would go visit my grandparents once every week or two. So my dad and I would go, sometimes my mom and my sisters would go, and we would get food for them as they were getting older and kind of stock up the refrigerator. get a couple of pies while we were there that they made. And just, so I had a lot of really close interactions with my grandparents. This is one of my favorite pictures. I guess I was 2 and I was already trying to fit into somebody else's shoes at that time. But it was a big part of my life. And in Philadelphia, it's all about family. And, you know, every Sunday night, there would be 25, 30 people that would get together in Philadelphia to be able to have, you know, a big Italian meal or a big meal. And I miss that. I think we've gone away from that. At least every other place that I've lived has kind of gone away from that spirit, you know, of having that Sunday dinner and just getting together as a family. So this is my family a few years ago. So that's Chris and his Purdue outfit and my daughter Lily at a younger age. We, in West Lafayette, Indiana, we had this incredible experience. We bought acreage. We had never lived out in the country. We'd always lived in a development. And so we bought 11 acres of land and had 5 of those acres that were farmland. I didn't know how to farm, so I rented it off pretty quickly. But it was this kind of magical place. It was in the middle of nowhere. We had a bonfire pit. This is actually sitting around the bonfire pit that was there. And it was just like our haven, where we brought friends, we brought family. We got to learn how to drive tractors, and we really became a super close family. I think most of you know Sally. Maybe you've met her, maybe you've seen her. If you go to the football game tomorrow, she's going to be on TV in the big screen. Because as you know, with the green shirts on, this is suicide prevention. And my wife, there's 2 things, well, there's 3 things she does really well. She's an incredible mother. Check. She's also an international wine judge, and she did that for about 15 years when she was the wine marketing person for the Indiana Wine Grape Council. And this will surprise you, but at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, Indiana, they had the 2nd largest wine competition in the world, about 6,000 entries. And she would taste between 180 and 220 wines a day. She's not swallowing, she's spitting. And so we were a great pair, right? The wine and the food guy. I was a food microbiologist. And now, so as we've kind of transitioned in life, my son has had a lot of anxiety. He's a pretty anxious kind of guy. And because of that, he's got ADHD. And so as parents, we had to learn to be able to adapt and to grow with that to help him grow. And so my wife transitioned to be able to be certified as an ADHD coach. And so she's got about 25 clients from around the world that she works with every week. And there's 2 different groups she works with: kids, typically kids in high school, and very high level executives, you know, the Forbes magazine kinds of executives that really need a little bit of balance, a little bit of help. And it really gives her great satisfaction in her career, because what's really important for her, she wants to be the best mother she can be. She wants to be the best first lady she can be, but she also has to have balance with what's important to her. And right now, this is what's important to her. My kids didn't always love each other like they do in this picture here today. I'm just saying. There's other pictures I chose not to select. So this is a more recent picture. This is the picture we took on the day that I learned that I was taking this job. So this is on the back deck in Cary, North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh. And you can see the 2 dogs. The dogs are awesome. If you walk by the presidential home, you'll hear them. We're working on that. We have a trainer, but if anyone knows how to do a better job of having them bark less, I'll take any advice that you have. So Mango, the white dog there, is an Australian Labradoodle. She's about 7. She's like the most amazing dog that is just great to have in the house. She actually goes over and rings a bell, takes her paw and rings a bell when she needs to go to the bathroom. Never makes a mistake, doesn't really bark. But if you're in the house, she's going to be the dog that's kind of hanging out in the corner, just chilling. But if you want to have her come and sit up on the couch or sit up on the bed or whatever, she's always right there with you. She's an incredible buddy. Willow, on the other hand, is an Australian doodle, an Aussie doodle. She's a puppy of 1.5 years, and she's just out of control. And the other night we had a bunch of commodity groups over for dinner, and I was throwing this toy, and throwing the toy, and the toy would drop from the main stairs down 4 or 5 stairs. And there is no going down the stairs, it's just leaping. Then I would sit on the couch like this, and I would take the toy and go like this, and the dog jumps right over me. We have a trainer for her as well. But she's the cool dog in that if she were here today with me, she would be 6 inches away from me the entire time. I actually power washed the house back in North Carolina before we were selling it. And for 8.5 hours with a power washer, she was like a foot away from me. Mango was much smarter. She was chilling out on the other side of the yard. A lot of excitement about this opportunity. Chris is making the adjustment as an 11th grader, which is not an easy thing to do, but he's all for the family, all for this opportunity, this kind of lifelong dream that I've had to be a president of a university. Sally's fired up and ready. She's going to make an incredible first lady. You got a much better deal with her than you did with me. Everybody said it and everyone's being honest. Lily is a freshman at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. She is going to be a child psychologist. She's known that from the age of 10 or 11. And she just doesn't know if it's going to be an MD or a PhD route, but it's amazing. She knows where she's going to be, and she probably knows where she's going to retire. Chris is not sure what he's having for lunch. But that's why you have 2 different kinds of dogs and 2 different kinds of kids. That's what makes life interesting. This is what I do to relax. This is actually, it's last year. So Ocean City, New Jersey is a place that not too far from Philadelphia. It's actually where my parents would go in the summer. And I spent 9 or 10 years at the Jersey Shore in Ocean City, New Jersey, working at a pizza place that was called Mac and Manco's. And this pizza place, I made about 1,200 pizzas a day. A pizza every 22 seconds. You had to be able to make a pizza from start to finish. And start to finish means you throw it in the air and you stretch it. Then you put it onto a paddle and you put the cheese and the sauce and put it in the oven. Then it would cook in these Rotoflex ovens, as they're called. And the pizza would, at about 675 degrees, would take about 6.5 or 7 minutes. And so this is what I do to relax. I have a 100-pound bag of flour at home, vegetable oil that's about yo big, blocks of yeast that are this big, and it is a long process. I grind the cheese, I make the sauce. It's a 7 or 8 hour process the night before so that I can make 20 pizza doughs. And I still do it once a month. We make the pizza. We have a great family night. Some folks have seen it. Tim DeNoble has had the opportunity. He broke bread at the house. He brought bread over. We had pizza. And, we all have our thing. And you guys were wanting to know what my thing is. It's this and cooking on the barbecue grill. And there was a big debate whether I bring the barbecue grill or not to the president's residence. Well, it's there. It's 2,000 pounds. It's called a Lifetime Grill out of Uvalde, Texas, right? We all know about that part of Texas with the recent really sad news, but a Lifetime Grill was given to me on my 40th birthday. And it's kind of an interesting history. This grill, there were 3 other guys that I worked with. We called us the 4 wise men. And the 4 wise men would do teaching and training in food safety all over the country and all over the world. And as they were older than I were, as they were starting to retire, the gifts that we were giving were Lifetime grills. It's this really specialized grill that's built in Uvalde, Texas, and distributed out of Texas and Minneapolis, Minnesota. And these guys are a lot older than me, and they all had their grills and I didn't have mine, and I'm still not retired. And so my wife at age 40 decided to buy me this $1,800 grill, which weighs 2,000 pounds and cost $1 a pound to ship it. So now my $4,000 grill, I use that $4,000 grill probably 150 times a year when I was in North Carolina. It was delivered a couple of weeks ago. We haven't fired it up yet, but I'm looking forward to firing it up. Maybe next week, right? There's going to be a thing for kids, for students at my house. We're going to do a movie for the first time, an outdoor movie at the house. We're not doing the Wabash Cannonball. But maybe we'll fire up the grill for the first time. Anyway, if you're ever in Ocean City, New Jersey, try this product. It is, it's an incredible product. It really doesn't even taste like pizza to me. And by the way, this thing floating in the air, that's 2 doughs, actually. What will happen after that's the right size, which is 18 inches, is I will pull them apart. But at any given time, when it was very busy, we would put as many as 8 together at the same time. And they're 18 ounces a piece. So that's throwing 10 pounds up in the. I started the year at about 160 pounds and I ended the summer at about 120. I think I need about a month's work at the beach to get back to my pre-presidential weight. The other escape for us is travel. And so we feel like one of the things we can do for our kids and for our family, especially in jobs like this, you got to disconnect. You got to be away. You've got to really spend time with your family where you're too cheap to buy the package on the cruise ship. And that's actually why we take cruises. My wife knows I'm too cheap to get the internet package. And that way I'm completely disconnected, but we love to go on cruises. This is a picture, this is in Denmark, which was one of our favorite places to go. This is a picture in Italy, but it's the one place and time, and we plan for it all year long. We put money away in a drawer. I'm not going to tell you where that drawer is. We put money away in. Ethan, I know you're looking for money, but if you come to the Pres-Res, the cameras are on you. But this is what we like to do. We just spent a trip for my daughter's 16th birthday in COVID, which became her 17th and 18th birthday because it got canceled twice. But we just got back from Ireland, Scotland, England, Norway, and Iceland. And if you've not yet been to Iceland, it is totally amazing. And I suggested you find a time to go there. But that's kind of what we put everything into. And we try to take one trip every summer. So this is the boring part of the presentation, but it just gives you a sense of why K-State. So I've been planning for this for a very, very long time, some more than 15 years in my career, trying to get experiences at land grants so that I could land at a land grant at the end of the day. I had determined that I wanted to be a university president actually 18 years ago, and working with my mentor, Randy Woodson, who's at NC State as the chancellor, and he and many other really great mentors have helped me figure out what I had at Purdue, what they thought I could get in addition at Ohio State, and what additional skill sets could be gained at NC State. And I think for me, there's tremendous value in understanding how different land grants work and trying to be able to figure out, how to work with all of you to be able to move this university forward. I'm incredibly proud and honored to be here. Kansas State, I actually went back and looked at notes 18 years ago. It was one of 5 land grant institutions 18 years ago that was a right fit for me. And so I just got very fortunate that this opportunity happened at a time, place where I felt prepared for the role. So this was on the back of the inauguration booklet. It kind of looks like a cool piece of fabric, but actually all it is it's a photograph with, I guess, my hand in the light behind it by accident. But I liked it so, yeah, go Cats. So I liked it so much, I thought it was kind of cool. But this was an outcome of 17 days at the Harvard Leadership Program. And it shouldn't take you 17 days, but it's one of the things I think I've really gotten right in articulating what's of value to me in leadership. We were challenged by doing 5 words that describe who you are as a leader. And I came up with create, hope, and joy together. And so the hope is what is possible. The joy is what's accomplished. The celebration of what's accomplished, and the together is finding ways to bring people together to be able to celebrate it more holistically. So with that, I will give you my 2 best pieces of advice I've gotten as being president. In talking to 9 other presidents who are incredible mentors to me. The first one is the most important one, is you have to make yourself have fun every day. Even though you have challenging days. I will say yesterday was a challenging day, right? We had Emporia State news, which is challenging to all of us. We also had, the Wabash Cannonball. But if you find joy in every single day and you have a smile on your face and you project that smile, I think it's important for everybody that's involved. This is an easy place to have fun. And I think you can see I've had fun with a lot of different folks the time period that I've been here. The other piece of advice that was given to me, actually Kurt Schultz gave it to me, the former president that was here. He's also a Virginia Tech Hokie. We've known each other a long time. And so when I got this job, we became pretty close friends. And he said, it's all about the rules of one. And let me tell you that you should have similar kinds of thinking for the role in which you do from a work-life balance perspective. But for a president, you only get ones. You guys should have 2s or 3s. But the rule of one is give yourself 1 hour a day for you. Give yourself 1 weeknight a week for you, 1 weekend a month, and 1 month a year. And it's probably the best advice I've ever been given, because you have to have that time out. You have to have that time where you can dislocate from everything you're doing, all the stresses, all the pressures, all the energy, just to spend time on your personal self and on your family. And so I hope that you do much better than the ones. Presidents can do ones. I told deans they can do like 1.5s. No more, Tim. 1.5 is all you get. But for the rest of you, find a way to find balance. And that's what I got. We got time, right? We good?
You got about 25 minutes.
Perfect. So if y'all have questions, I'll take them. If you have complaints, I got another meeting I got to be at in a couple minutes.
I don't know, did you say how you met your wife?
Ah, no, we did not talk about how I met my wife, and I'm so glad you asked. So my wife used to be the grants person for USDA at the university, and the College of Agriculture is where most of those grants come into. And so her job was to be able to manage the grants, and then when they're awarded and there has to be a negotiation about changing the level and the work plan, that's the person you had to work with. And so I got a grant and I had to make this negotiation, and I went over to her office 3 times just to meet her, and she wasn't there 3 times. She came over to my office 3 or 4 times to meet me, and I wasn't there. Neither one of us knew that. So then she was interviewing and got the job as the wine marketing person for the Indiana Wine Group, which happened to be in the same building that I was in the Department of Food Science. We still didn't know each other. She was going to the first international wine competition, and her supervisor's name was Dr. Vine. You can't make this up. So anyway, we go to this international wine competition, and my job, I had an extension appointment. And what I did for the judges, and there were about 40 or 50 judges, I would make food for them over a 3 or 4 day period and cut the Munster cheese and cut the bread so that they could cleanse their palate. And I was going to make pizza, right? Cool, gourmet pizza, surf and turf, all sorts of fun stuff for the judges. And the other people that would always help me make the food from Charlotte, North Carolina, that were flying to Indianapolis, their flight got canceled. I had no help. I needed a sous chef. So my wife became my sous chef. And at the end of the night, it goes like this. At the end of the night, we end up drinking with other people. drinking a $250 bottle of wine out of a $1.50 pot because there were no glasses left. And anyway, she had tickets to a Jimmy Buffett concert in Cincinnati. Jimmy Buffett is like my favorite. Cincinnati and Atlanta are the two best places that he plays, but it was the only weekend all summer I was off. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I'm too busy. I'm overwhelmed. Well, that pot of wine seemed to change my mind. And I'll never forget it because I was supposed to stay. There was a big house that they housed a lot of judges and things at the state fair grounds. And, you know, I had had enough to drink that I shouldn't be driving to my hotel. And so she called the hotel and she said, Miss Peard, the faculty member, he's just not going to be able to make it to the hotel. His flight has been canceled. So she got me out of going to the hotel. We then drive to Cincinnati to go to the concert, and we're outside tailgating. I used to have a pickup truck. We were tailgating. And this guy with mirrored sunglasses comes over to talk to us. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get a ticket. Wasn't a police officer, just a nice guy. He comes over and he says, how long have you guys been married? And I said, I don't know her last name. And he said, you will be married. Turns out this guy was a restaurant and bar owner in the riverfront in Cincinnati. We're having a great time. We're talking to him. And all of a sudden I hear a volcano playing by Jimmy Buffett. And I looked at Sally and I said, who I didn't know her last name. I said, we now have the worst lawn seats in the place because the concert had started. The guy says, no problem. He says, what we can do is when they went into the concert, he said, we need second row seats. He said, I'll come out and get Sally, go back, and then I'll come out again and use this ticket and get me. I guess you could do it back then. And so long story short, we end up sitting in the second row of a Jimmy Buffett concert. We sat next to Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, who got up and did a song. We have not been apart a single day when both of us are in town since that first date. Yeah. In fact, we actually invited friends over that next weekend for dinner. And I'd had a house and kitchen. It's like she knew my kitchen. It's like it was so natural to her. So it's one of those magical, special moments. That's how I met Sally. She should have a similar story, I hope. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can repeat the questions.
For you, with the $1,800 grill, what is your preferred wood choice
Oh.
to use? And then how does it feel now living in a piece of history versus a house you could power wash before?
Okay.
Because I don't think Ground would be very happy with that being power wash.
Grounds folks have had conversations with me already. So let me get back to the wood. Yes, I'll repeat the question. Sure. The question is, what kind of wood do I use in my grill? And the answer is, it depends. Depends on what I'm cooking. My favorite choice of wood for Thanksgiving and turkeys, and I've had 6 turkeys in there at one time, is a mixture of apple and cherry. But I'll do mesquite, I'll do oak. It all depends upon what I'm cooking and the temperature that I'm looking at getting to. Different woods elevate the temperature. Charcoal briquettes only get you to a certain place. Wood will get you 150 degrees warmer. And in my grill, if and when I hope you see it, there's a firebox here. Then there's a big cooking box here and then a vertical cooking box here. This is where I would put turkeys. I need a lot of heat to go from here to here. I need to have wood to be able to get that heat. Living in the Pres-Res is a little different. You can't get in your PJs and go out there and get the newspaper. Or if you do, people are taking photographs. So I would say that is in one way great. It's really great to be connected on campus, but I miss not piddling around in the backyard because I did it every weekend. I miss not mowing, not that I need to mow the grass, but I miss not putzing around and pulling weeds and trimming the trees. I mean, we had an acre or so of land in North Carolina, and of course, 11 acres when we were in West Lafayette. I did after the hurricane, no, not the hurricane, the tornado. I was out there picking up sticks and, the big tornado we had this summer. And very shortly afterwards, facilities came, and then Ethan was pretty soon after, like, what are you doing? Well, I'm cleaning up the sticks in my yard because I've got a big event tonight. And actually, I quite enjoyed doing that, but I think they were worried that the president could get hurt. But it's a beautiful home. It's 100 years old. We're incredibly honored to be in that home, but it's a different way of living and a different transition. The other recommendation that presidents have is you need to have an escape hatch, a place to go that is your home. And you can do whatever you want to do in your home. And so we have that escape hatch if needed. Yes, in the back.
Hi, I have some questions from our chat. So I have two that I'll ask you.
Okay.
One from Laverne Bitsy Baldwin. Will you be seen on campus in the golf cart this fall?
The golf cart's outside. I came here to this meeting in a golf cart. I drive the golf cart every day when everything's on campus and the weather's nice. I drive the golf cart almost every single weekend that I'm here without an event to be able to connect with students. But back to Jeff's point about students, one of my best ways to connect with students is going to basketball games last year when my family wasn't here. But that golf cart has just an amazing magnetism around it, especially on the weekends. And it seems like whenever I pick up a student, I'm saving them from like a 20-minute walk. And so, yeah, it's kind of fun to ride around on. I'm not as safe a driver as my wife, but yeah, it's a luxury and it's fun to do.
Awesome. And one more question from Jeannie Brown Leonard. What is your
Sorry, back up on the golf cart. I also go to football games and give out ice cream and cupcakes and things. I will be, as long as the weather is good, I'll be out there connecting with especially students.
I was one of the recipients of the ice cream. It was phenomenal.
Carl Hall ice cream.
It's not straight liquor.
So, yeah, so there's apparently in statute, there's I've got more enthusiasm about the golf cart than the Riley County Police. So I'm now driving on sidewalks. I actually have a wonderful artist rendition of that. Yes.
Sorry, one more question from Jeannie Brown Leonard. What is your proudest student success moment or outcome from your time as a faculty member and administrator?
I don't know that there's a proud moment, but there's a proud effort. Is when a student or a faculty member does something above and beyond their own thinking that they could do. It's about the student that couldn't get accepted, that I fought like crazy to get that kid in, and they graduate as the second or third highest student. That's probably one of them. I fought like heck to get this kid in because he's such a hard worker, and he was the second best student in the whole entire college and was given a letter of denial. For faculty and for department heads, that I was talking last night to one of my former department heads at NC State, who the last thing he ever wanted to do was administration. He's now been a department head there, and he was just calling me. It was his year anniversary. And he was saying, I just am so happy to be doing this. It's changing people's lives and changing people's lives in a path that they thought was never possible. That for me is why I'm in this profession. Yeah. Any other online questions? Okay.
Perfect. We have one here.
It just seems like I just saw you this morning.
You did, yeah. I was at the Kanza Rotary Club. I had the privilege of hearing you twice in one day.
This one's kind of more fun though, isn't it?
This was great. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And thank you for doing this. I have a 4-part question.
Who's taking notes? I feel like Rodney Dangerfield needs to be with me. Go ahead.
So you mentioned that you want to create hope and joy together. I
Yep.
really like that. And that's your advice to us. And I'll adopt that for myself. Appreciate that. In your personal life,
Mhm.
what do you hope for? Just one thing. And in your professional life, what do you hope for?
Mm.
And this is the third part.
Yeah.
What has brought you the most joy, or just something that's brought you joy in your personal life? And what has brought you joy in your professional life?
Wow, this is deep. This one requires thought. So what you're asking for is really what my purpose is, right? Professionally and personally. I think personally with family and friends and colleagues, it's the connection. You know, it's the real connection about, being together and enjoying that. So I treasure every single second I have with my family, every minute. Professionally, it's about, making a difference. I'm not here to status quo. If you haven't figured that out, I'm here to go. I'm here to work as hard as I possibly can and make a difference. And so me, it's when we can make a difference in an organization, we can make a difference in people's professional careers. That's what's most important to me. That's what's most satisfying to me. Personally, when you talk about life-changing moments, it's got to be the birth of your two kids. There's just nothing, there are no other days that even come close. And you just never forget any second of that experience. And then watching them grow up and become somewhat adult human beings. Professionally, I don't know that I can pinpoint it. Maybe it's personal growth. But I can remember driving to North Carolina in the moving van and looking back to my wife, and she actually took a picture of it. I used to do a presentation and, it was, how the heck did this happen? And having that professional growth connected with mentors and mentees. And that's why at my inauguration lunch, it was so important for me to have a mentor and a mentee, because that's full circle. And so it's not just one specific moment, it's kind of a career path of growth and enjoyment. If you would have asked me, even though it was a goal 18 years ago, did I really think that was even possible? No, absolutely not. But with people helping you, you can get there, and the growth and the experiences for me has been super rewarding. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's a good president that can just give you an answer that he wants to give. But that's, if you're asking for something that comes from the heart, that's it. Yes, ma'am.
So the Christmas picture with you and your sisters,
Holiday picture.
holiday
Yes.
picture. You coined a term for each of your siblings.
Yes.
How about a coinage for the little boy?
Yes. They would probably say two things. We're surprised. Pride. That's the right word. Yeah. We're done. Yes, Jeff, what you got?
So you had a very nice illustrated roadmap for how you got to be president. And then it stopped.
It's the end of the road, brother.
Oh, I hope not, because we're with you.
Yeah, so it's at the end of the road because my wife the other day said, we are not moving again. So when they kicked me out of the president's office, but I don't know. That was the journey, 18 years ago. I feel like I'm here. I feel like I'm fulfilled. And this is the right place, I think, for me. And I hope it's the right place for Kansas State to have somebody like me. But I don't need to be drawing any more roads. You know, unless you guys put all sorts of barricades or something. So, yeah, but that's for me, I don't know what else there is. You know, I'm not going to be president of the United States. I'm not going to be governor. A faculty member sounds awfully good. Maybe that's a side road. Good question.
Okay, so we have time for about 1 to 2 more questions.
Okay. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You're the only one that said hi.
So my question is regarding student mental health and some of the things that you shared about your personal life. And so you shared with us moments of grief, dealing with mental health issues, very up close in your personal life. And I'm curious to know, how do you think that'll influence the way in which you support student health on our campus?
Yeah, so I get it and I understand it in a couple of different ways. One, there's been the personal reflection of my own family, but the other is I have a wife that this is what she wants to do here. You know, every first lady, I think, ought to have a purpose. Her purpose is mental health and well-being. That's it. That's what she's going to do. You won't get a no from her for that. You're going to get a no on a bunch of other things, but that's her passion. And smart husbands listen to their wives. Yeah. And so it's been, you know, I've gotten to learn it through struggle and bringing up a son. But at the same time, I've got a wife that talks about it every day. And she quite often she says, "Are you listening?" Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's going to help this community, not just students, faculty and staff. This is a different and dynamic time on the other side of COVID that we ought to be paying attention to. It's different for everybody. That's why being here in a community is so amazing. I think we will get through it better than most. Little boss, that means one more.
Hope that's okay. Hi, thanks for being here.
You don't have a
Enjoyed this.
7-part question, do you? No,
No, Carol Fike from over in Animal Sciences. So my question, I feel a little bit bad for asking it because it's a little bit more on the negative side. Oh, but first I wanted to say that if we can be of any help with wanting to pull weeds and pick up sticks, we've got a farm outside of up in Westmoreland and we'd be glad to have services.
I thought what I heard is you were going to come over and help us pull weeds, but no, this is different. This is for me to get my.
Yeah, it might be a little bit more work at our place. But good. Is there anything that disappoints or frustrates you?
Yeah, but you'll never see it. That's what being a cheerleader is all about. So I get frustrated when things don't go as fast and as smooth as I'd like them to go. I get frustrated when on the other side, I see folks with incredible potential that don't get there and don't meet it. I get frustrated when you've got a big audacious goal and that person doesn't get it. One of the things that's most hurtful for me is when a faculty member really tries hard to go after and get something and they're second, or they're third, or they don't get it. But I can never show it. I've always got to be positive and uplifting and talk about the next try at it. So yeah, there's lots of things that frustrate me. We have a rule at home. It's called the New Zealand rule. And when I go home every night, still to this day, we did a sabbatical in New Zealand. That's how I learned it. And I think it's a great thing. You go home and you can have a drink. It could be a cup of coffee, shot of whiskey, beer, glass of wine, whatever it is. You can talk about work and the frustrations until the bottom of the glass. Then you're done. It is a great way to live. So when I come home and say, "Sally, get me the 18-ounce beer," she says, "Tell me about your day." Yeah, lots of things that frustrate, but I think good and strong leaders are realistic, but at the same time, they are always promoting positivity. So you'll very infrequently see me, unless I'm fighting for something big time. And that'll happen. That'll happen every once in a while. This has been fun.
I hope you all are enjoying this time as much as I am. And I would just invite you all to think about on your walk back to wherever you go, asking the person next to you what matters most to you and why, because it's certainly opened a great space for reflection and community. So thank you, President Linton, and happy Friday, everyone. Thanks so much.